Hello everyone, this is Bushra Sayed from Usha Institute of Science. Today we are going to study the general characteristics and the animals associated with the phylum Nemathelminthus. This phylum is also known as Nematoda or Aschelminthus in different books or sites. If you see, different names are given. So if it is Aschelminthus, if it is Nematoda, it means that it is Nemathelminthus. So yes, this phylum has total different two classes. The class one is Aphasmida and the another one is Phasmida. Aphasmida and Phasmida, the names are given on the basis of a sensory organ located at the posterior end of the organism. So if the sensory organ is present, we call it as those organism or those nematodes come under Aphasmida, and those who bear the sensory organ phasmid, we call them as phasmids, or they belong to the class Phasmida of the phylum Nematoda. Examples of Phasmida is Gephila, Trichinella. In Phasmida, the animals are Ascaris, Vaucheraria, and Ankylostoma. Coming to the saline features of Nematoda, Nemathelminthus or Aschelminthus. So usually in common terms, we call these organisms belonging to Nematoda as roundworms. So as you can see in the diagram, the organism is round in nature. Okay. So nematodes, when we talk about, they are free living or parasitic. Free living forms inhabit the marine, freshwater or terrestrial habitats. Terrestrial species live in thin films of water surrounded by soil particles, so they usually live in a moist area within the soil. Parasites attack plants and animals, so different parasitic forms of nematodes lives in various plants and animals, considering them as their host in their life cycles. So most of the free-living forms of nematodes are microscopic, while the parasitic forms are larger. So the body of nematodes is elongated and cylindrical, as we have seen in the previous slide. The image tissues are syncytial or cellular. It means that if more than one cell fuse together, it forms a huge multinucleate cell, that is a syncytial cell, or it is a cellular. The different cells are being joined and the tissue is being formed. Nematodes are species specific number of cells or nuclei. They have species specific number of cells or nuclei. It means that different species have different number of nuclei as well as cells. Locomotion as such is absent, but in some forms you will be able to see ciliated gastrodermal cells. Body wall, when we talk about it, consists of the cuticle, that is the outer smooth layer of the body, followed by epidermis and longitudinal muscles. The longitudinal muscles are those muscles which are arranged longitudinally, and after that comes the circular muscles. But here the circular muscles are absent. There are no circular muscles in nematodes. Only longitudinal muscles are present. We have already seen about pseudocoelom, that nematodes are an example of pseudocoelom. It means that the pseudocoelom is not lined by the mesodermal peritoneum. It is not formed from the mesoderm, but instead of that, it is formed from the endoderm. That is why it is known as pseudocoelom. So these organisms, nematodes, are pseudocoelomate. Alimentary canal, when we talk about, if you see in the diagram, it is a straight tube. You can see the mouth, pharynx, intestine, anus. Okay, So this is the alimentary canal, the digestive tract of the nematode organism. It has a mouth, pharynx, intestine and rectum. In males, the rectum joins the reproductive system to form a cloaca. In females, the rectum directly opens to the exterior by anus. This is the major difference between males and females in nematodes, that the male has the presence of cloaca, but in the female it is anus. In males, the anus has been replaced by the cloaca. Digestive system is complicated. It occurs both extracellularly and intracellularly. Intestine is non-muscular. There is no blood vascular system or special respiratory system in nematodes. Excretory system includes excretory glands or H-shaped excretory canal or both. Nervous system, when we talk about, it is intraepithelial in the epidermis and gut. It means that it is in between the epidermis and the gut. There are the presence of nerves which are located anteriorly as well as posteriorly. Here if you see in the diagram, the whole body consists of the nerve. Here is the nerve ring, that is the circumpharyngeal ganglionated nerve ring. This is that. Sense organs are papillae, amphids and phasmids. So the different sense organs are also present in nematodes. If you have seen the earlier phylum, that is Platyhelminthes, the nervous system was not that well developed, but here as we will proceed further and the development will progress, we will be able to see more complex structure and the system getting more developed in the next or the upcoming phylums. If amphids are anterior, we are talking about the sense organs. So amphids, when we talk about, they are located anteriorly. They are mechanosensory or chemosensory. It means they respond to some mechanical stress or the chemical uh, stimulus in the environment. Phasmids are posterior. They are located at the posterior end, as I have told you earlier. Unisexual, when we talk about the reproductive system, the nematodes are unisexual. It means that the male and the female will be different. They are sexually dimorphic. This is a new term for you, that is sexually dimorphic. It means that you will be clearly able to distinguish the male and female organism by just looking at them, because of their size, their structure and their body pattern. You can easily distinguish the male and the female among the nematodes. So that is sexual dimorphism. So here males are smaller than females. Okay, that is a major sexual dimorphism. The different points of sexual dimorphism are also been asked in the exam. So cloaca and copulatory spicules are present in males. Few of them are hermaphrodites. Fertilization is always internal. Development includes 4 molts. So this particular organism shows molting. It means that after few stages of development, the adult is being formed. Okay, and those stages of development are known as molts. So Nementhal minthus, when we talk about, it has 2 classes and we'll see the different characteristic of the classes, aphasmids and phasmids. First of all, aphasmids, at various places you will see that aphasmids are also known as adenophoria. So if you cannot find the term related to aphasmids, you can also search through adenophoria. They are free living, they are not parasites, but they are free living. We call them as amphids because they have amphids as the anterior sense organ, which occurs in various shapes. Posterior sense organs, that is the phasmids, is absent, thereby we call them as aphasmids. There is no excretory system. There is no there is a mesenterial tissue which is well developed. they possess caudal adhesive glands. It means that at the tail end they will be having adhesive glands to which the body will be able to stick at a particular space. Example is Trichinella. Coming to the phasmids, they are also known as Sesonentia. Most of them are parasitic, some forms are free living. These animals, when we talk about, they have phasmids and amphids both as the sensory organs. Amphids are pole-like structures. Excretory system is well developed with excretory glands and excretory canal. Mesenterial tissue is not well developed. They do not have any caudal adhesive glands. Examples are Rhabditis, Entrobius, Ascaris. These three examples are there in our syllabus. So we'll look at them one by one. The first one is Ascaris. The scientific name is Ascaris lubricoides. Uh, we all have heard about the Ascaris, like it is the most common endoparasite in humans, especially in children, where they inhabit in the intestine, in the small intestine of male, most commonly in the children. Okay, so we all have heard about the Ascaris, which is the endoparasite living in the small intestine of human. The shape and size of Ascaris is they are elongate cylindrical structure. They have tapering ends. It means that they have pointed ends. They are dioecious with sexual dimorphism. Clear sexual dimorphism. Male will be smaller, female will be larger with a curved tail, and male has a straight tail. Color, when we talk about, they are light yellow to light pink. If you see the fresh specimen of Ascaris, they are around light yellow to light pink. Longitudinal lines are present over the entire body. There are total 4 longitudinal lines or streaks. One is mid-dorsal, that is, if you see dorsally, there will be one dorsal line running through the middle of the organism. If you turn the organism on the ventral side, there will be one mid-ventral longitudinal line, and there will be 2 on the lateral side. So there are total 4 longitudinal lines present in the Ascaris. So this is Ascaris, this is how it looks like. Okay, so if you have ever heard about the infection with the Ascaris in the in an infant or in a child, you might have seen the Ascaris looking like this. So this is the female, which is larger than a male. Why it is larger? Because female has to accompany a huge uterus inside the body, and she has to hatch. First she has to nourish the eggs, and then she has to hatch the eggs. So for accompanying that particular space, the female is found to be larger than the males. Okay, here if you see the end of the female, it is pointed, whereas in male it is curved. In the diagram here also you can easily distinguish the male and the female. Anterior end of Ascaris, when we talk about, it is round, small, ventral. It has a triradiate mouth. It means that there will be 3 flaps to the mouth surrounded by 3 labia. We also call them as lips, which bears the sensory papilla. So whenever the sensory papillae senses the food, they capture the food. Posterior end, we have already seen that the posterior end exhibits the sexual dimorphism. Female has anus, whereas in the male the anus has been replaced by cloaca. So in male the cloacal aperture has pineal setae, which helps in copulation. So why anus has been replaced by cloaca in male? Because the structure over cloaca helps in the copulation process. Excretory pore, when we talk about, it is single, midventral, 2 mm from the anterior end. Gonopore, that is the Vulva, we call them as vulva in females. It is located mid-ventrally. In males, it opens into cloaca, whereas in female, the gonopore directly opens to the outside. But in males, it will open into cloaca, and then cloaca will open to the outside. Reproduction, dioecious with clear sexual dimorphism. So this is again the female and the male. You can easily distinguish them. The mouth with the labia, the sensory papilla have been clearly shown. The digestive tract, the reproductive tract, the ovary. Okay, then here is the genital papilla, the reproductive tract of the male, the digestive tract. Everything is visible, clearly visible in the diagram. So you can see that how, what is the anatomy of an ascaris. Coming to the second one, that is Rhaptides. Rhaptides, when we talk about, they are free living. Some of them are semi-parasitic. Rhaptides hominis is one of the species which lives in the human stool. Rhaptides peleo is one of the species which lives in human vagina, and it has been flushed out with the urine. Adults are around 1.7 to 2 mm in length. Male has a single tubular testis and female has 2 ovaries. Life cycle is simple and direct. It means that they have only one host in their complete life cycle. Okay, so this is the if they are parasite, right? Even if they are not parasite, most of the species of Rhaptides lies in the like they have earthworm as the part of their life cycle, because the eggs are being hatched into the juveniles in the body of earthworm. When the earthworm dies, at that time those juveniles will convert themselves into adult, and then they will complete their life cycle. So eggs always hatches in the body of the earthworm. So earthworm is the organism which is required to complete the life cycle of Rhaptides. Here the sexual dimorphism, you can easily see the size of the organism, the anatomy of Rhaptides. Coming to the last organism in the syllabus, that is Entrobius. Entrobius vermicularis, we call them as pinworm in human. It is a human endoparasite. It completes its life cycle in the body of humans. We call them as pinworm because their pointed ends are like pins, and here, and they pinches the skin of human like a pin, so that is why we call them as pinworm. Incidence like this parasite infection is more seen in female. There is clear sexual dimorphism. The organism is slender, cream colored. You can easily make out 2 to 5 mm length in male. Female will be around 8 to 13 mm. Posterior end is long and pointed in female. So when we talk about female, it will be long and pointed, whereas it will be curved and blunt in case of males. Life cycle is simple and direct, having only one host. Here is a female, here is a male, so curved end. In the previous slide, the diagram, the image that you have seen, that has both the males. So you can see the external morphology of the organism. So what about the life cycle of Entrobius? So what happens at night, the female migrate to anus, the female worm will migrate to the anus, and there they will deposit their eggs. The eggs will migrate to small intestine through duodenum and molts twice to become adults. Those adults will live in the body for around 20 to 30 days. and there are no chances of reinfection of the organism. Okay, so the adults will automatically die. So there is no reinfection. So this is about the phylum Nemathelminthis or Nematoda. If you have any query, you can contact me on my mail ID. Thank you.